Hi, hello, and welcome back to LANCER, our favorite mech tabletop RPG. I figured it'd be best to cover some of the general status and conditions that a lot of these different traits, components, different things in license levels add, or interact with in some way. I mean, you've heard shredded when it came to the axe. We're gonna talk about it here. So first, some of the things involved in rolling. Particularly with the Black Ice module from the Black Witch, you might have heard of difficulty. Not in the sense of just the rating of an enemy, but when it comes to dice. So when it comes to general rolls, you might have things like accuracy or difficulty, or in some other systems, advantage, disadvantage, some kind of favor, fate. In short, accuracy helps rolls, difficulty is when rolls would be a bit more, well, difficult. Each of these is represented by a d6, which counteract each other and stack into pools. So essentially, if it's accuracy, roll the d6 and add it to the total roll. If it's difficulty, roll the d6 and subtract it from the total roll. If you have multiple accuracy or multiple difficulty, you roll the pool, and then whatever the highest number is either what's added or subtracted respectively. But on to the statuses and conditions, the main meat of this video. So first off is Danger Zone. You heard that when it came to the Tokugawa and the Harrison video, and Danger Zone is whenever you're at half or just above your heat cap. Well, not literally just above, but either at half or above your heat cap. Danger Zone itself doesn't have any specific effect, it's just a status that triggers other effects or components. Like the Tokugawa, for example, previously mentioned, which has a bunch of systems that play off of being in the Danger Zone. Down and out, which is actually just referring to your pilot only. So when your pilot's down and out, your mech can't be, your mech can just be destroyed. Because whenever a mech would technically be down and out, it's just been destroyed. When a pilot's down and out, they're unconscious, you know, just currently bleeding out on the battlefield or just knocked out from whatever the blow or explosion was that threw them back. However, if they take any more damage, they're dead. They're just dead. No saves, no death saves, no nothing. They just die. Lucky for you, you have an entire mech chassis in between you and most combats, so all it takes to remove this is just one rest and you're back up to half health. But you know, just don't take any damage in between then and there. Engaged, which is not just a fun thing to say with Star Trek. Engage is whenever you get stuck in melee with someone. At first it does what you might think, a difficulty dice for everyone involved in Engage, so you know, the enemy and you. But also outside of your turn, if you're running past someone, it doesn't take a reaction or anything. If you get within their melee space or threat range, so when it comes to a specific melee weapon, you become engaged. When you become engaged, which goes for both of the chassis, you cannot move. There are other things you can do to get outside of engaged, but within that initial round, you have stopped moving. You are stuck in that engagement. So body blocking is an actual thing you can do without things just dodging and weaving between you. There's specific chassis and abilities that can do that later, but as a base, body block all you want. Exposed. So this is to represent runaway heat buildups. You know, events, internal combustion, as in the explosive kind, not the actual engine kind. Things are going wrong and you've had to purposely lift up armor plating and cooling rods. You are vulnerable. It's bad. Exposed is really bad, namely because you take twice as much damage from all kinetic, explosive, and energy. Twice as much. Luckily for you, you can end it with stabilizing, but that eats up some action, so maybe you say exposed, maybe you risk taking that damage. Okay, this next one's been a headache for me as a new GM to this system. Less because of the actual status effect itself and more because of some talents that can play off of it. Hidden, which means you can't be targeted directly by any attacks, including ranged stuff. They only know the approximate location of you. Anything that would be to hit, even if they say like, hey, I'm aiming for that one specific space and shooting, it's not gonna hit. There's not even a chance. On top of that, if you remain hidden, you can't engage or be engaged, so let's say you're hiding inside a building, an enemy walking by it, which would put you in melee range, doesn't count. It's broken a bit by what you expect, it's broken by boosting, it's broken by getting outside of cover, making an attack, taking a reaction, using a different ability to force a save on someone. All of that essentially takes you out of what would just be stealth. On top of all those things, an enemy can just roll to search for you, and if they succeed against whatever your save target on the chassis is, you've been spotted. So invisible. The invisible condition, or status. Status. This is a fun one. So first off, the more mundane part of it, and more obvious part of it, when you're invisible, you can hide whenever. Just whenever. But you are not counted as hiding to begin with. You have to still take that action to hide in the first place, and can still be revealed by taking other actions and attacks. So it's not the crazy invisibility giving you accuracies all the time to some extent, no. Meaning that after you attack, enemies can still know your exact location, roughly. Because the other feature of invisibility is a 50% chance to hit you. Not you attacking, 50% chance to hit you. Or whoever is currently invisible, you only have a 50% chance to hit. Even when you know the space they're in. In fact, to be able to even hit them in the first place, they have to have lost hidden. To be able to then fall back on the 50%. That's untouchable. Well, not untouchable, but that's still essentially a coin flip every time you try to go and make an attack. Well, that's good. Next one's a good one. It's prone. So, you know, just taking a mech and just back. +1 accuracy against you, or anyone on the ground with a prone condition. Prone target is also slowed, considered always in difficult terrain, and to remove prone, they have to spend movement on getting up. Though, for things like reactions, that movement doesn't count as movement for reactions. So no, just Gorgon swatting something down again. Shut down, so essentially, shutting down your mech. Either whether it's what you wanted, or you're doing it because things have gone wrong. All heat is cleared, the exposed condition is removed, cascading NHP are stabilized, any tech-based effects immediately end, immunity to tech actions and attacks, including allies, so beneficial stuff. Stunned indefinitely, nothing can prevent this condition, remains until no longer shut down. So the mech's not moving cause it's shut down. The lights are off in it. A bit of a laundry list, but that's essentially like, hey, you can't do all these things while the chassis is shut down. Also, if you're suffering from exposed or rampaging cascade, you can just shut down. Not good for the middle of combat, but if, everything's against the wall. Immobilized, which Black Witch mentioned quite a few times, no voluntary movement. You can still be pulled, you can still be forced, pushed, all those sorts of things, an explosion knocking you back, but outside of that, you're stuck there. Impaired, think of this like a poison condition of sorts. It's just a minor difficulty dice added to most everything. The big ones, attack, save, skill checks, that's all of them. You have difficulty to all of them. Jams, now this is a fun one. So first off, the comms are dead. The target cannot communicate with anyone through their chassis, or essentially in comms, so even just a squad unit that has these bits of radios in their headset doesn't work. Table-wise, if you want to have fun role-playing this, especially if you're an online, mute the member. On top of that, attacks can only be improvised grapple or ram, because most of your it's not just your comms, your weapon systems have also been jammed, or your ref electronics to an extent. Which also adds up to no reactions, as it's currently slow and sluggish to react to anything, no tech actions, and also no beneficial tech actions from allies. Lock-on. Now lock-on is a simple tech action that a lot of people can take, but the status effect of lock-on is something that an enemy or an ally that's currently looking at it on an enemy can decide to use up. So let's say an enemy has the lock-on condition from a distance that an ally has placed on them, or you placed on a turn ahead of time. You can look at that, say you want to use that lock-on, your systems target that, everything else rearranging, the arms moving directly to follow that aimbot, and you have +1 accuracy to the attack. Nice. Not that big a deal usually, but still that +1 accuracy is nice, a D6. The big thing is that there's a lot of different systems and abilities, especially when it comes to like tracking missiles and stuff that use lock-on. Shredded, which you might remember again from that chain axe a while ago. Shredded is to represent, similar to the exposed condition, but armor plating being torn away, or current systems being just left open, or arms forced apart, or jamming an axe blade directly into someone and all that chain ripping everything out. When shredded, a target can't benefit from any armor or any resistances. Armor in short, adding just a straight damage reduction to things, 1 to 4 usually, and the resistance just having something. So being able to get rid of that on a tank that relies on it is really good. Against soft targets, it's meh. Slowed actually doesn't do that much. Namely because it just forces you to make a standard move, aka you can't boost further, you can't overcharge and then move again, it's just standard move. Because all the sluggish stuff is done by impaired, it's not like the slow spell from 5e. Just standard move. Stunned, mechs cannot overcharge, take actions, move, free actions, reactions. The pilot itself can actually still dismount, eject, all that pretty normally, namely because the effect itself is just tied to the mech being stunned. On top of that, probably the worst downside of it is the evasion is brought down to 5. Also automatically failing all hull and agility saves. Doesn't seem that bad until you are stunned. Then, oh no, I can't do anything and I have 5 evasion. That's bad. That was the status and conditions of Lancer, so hopefully whenever we're talking about these things, when other chassis or licenses come up, it's a bit easier to come to, and also build off of other rules that'll be explained. But just a basis, so when you heard of shredded, slowed, impaired, you now actually know what those do. In any case though, thank you for watching, thank you to my patrons, and have a nice day.